Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 193, recording on Sunday, May 19th, 2024. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And it's May 2-4 weekend, buds. And what better way to celebrate with a little podcasting? Mm-hmm. We're going to talk the huge Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer from this week and some other stuff we played, including Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Have I said all of these titles correct? I don't even know if those are actual titles for either of those games.
I believe you're correct. Sounded good to me.
Sounded beautiful.
We got a lot of gaming in this weekend. You know, May 2-4, I was thinking 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was just an excuse to party all weekend. I would have something lined up for every day. I would be going away somewhere. I would be doing something. This weekend, I got into the types of jobs you only do if you're officially at like max capacity. You've got everything else done. I clean the siding of my house. I clean the interior of my car. I clean the exterior of my car. I trimmed tree branches.
Very nice.
All the stuff
did you power wash the siding though? That's the real question.
Absolutely.
Okay, now we're talking. See, that's fun. That's not a chore. That's fun.
I mean, I live power wash. Jay plays simulators and other people play power wash. I live the power wash life. And then I got in some serious gaming. 3 platinums. Almost 4 platinums. No.
Whoa.
These were continuations of games I'd been playing, but it was a serious gaming weekend for me. How about you guys? How was your long weekend?
I mean, it's a little busy with opening the pool and all that stuff, but I played a few games, got some gaming in.
I got less gaming in, but went to a play in Toronto today that was enjoyable with the kids, and got a hockey practice nice and early, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So a nice wake up there to get the weekend really ended off on a high note.
Technically, it's still a long weekend tomorrow, holiday here. So I might be able to get 2 more platinums before tomorrow night. And
now we're talking.
5 platinum long weekend. That would be amazing.
Huge.
Record.
All right. Assassin's Creed Shadows. New trailer. Game drops this fall. I was a little surprised. We kind of knew what this game was. I think it was codenamed, was it Jade before?
I think it was Red. I think it was Red. Yeah.
Okay. And it's yet another feudal Japan game, this time in the Assassin's Creed world. And I'll let you guys talk. But first thing I want to say, no gameplay at all, which I thought was very shocking. Although the pre-rendered cinematic stuff, the lighting quality, some of the best I've ever seen, like photorealistic at times. So it did look good, but if I knew that there was no gameplay when we were discussing what we're going to talk on this show, I wouldn't have even brought it up, because if there's no gameplay, I don't care. What did you guys think of the trailer?
I thought kind of similar to you. Without the gameplay, it's like a little bit of a wet noodle or so. And I wish there was more. There was one scene where they were walking through like a crowded marketplace, and I thought for a second that might have been in game, but they were going to like transition to in-game stuff, and then they did not. So I don't think that was in game either, but I thought it did look interesting. I thought the fact that I hope they go down the route with the 2 character thing, that they actually switch between them like many other games have been doing. It's not just you get to choose one or the other and play as that person. I hope they do the switching thing. I like that in games. Like, I think it really helps break up the pacing of the game and allows different mechanics to happen. So I hope they go with that. But overall, there have been a lot of Japanese themed games coming out, and I haven't played any of them, so might play this one. Who knows?
Played all of them, so I might be getting a little burnt out on it. For sure, you play as both characters in the story. One is samurai, one is shinobi. So they're like totally different gameplay styles, which you kind of switched between those 2 elements in Ghost of Tsushima. So we've seen similar elements to that in Rise of the Ronin. I'm not fully through that game yet, but you also have two characters, at least in the beginning of the game, that you're bouncing back and forth between. So a lot of these mechanics I've seen before, and the ideas are there. It's just implemented in a slightly different way with two characters that play differently. Where in Ghost of Tsushima, you would just switch kind of on the fly as to what play style you were doing, with depending on the context of the game, mostly. So I don't know. If it looks good, I'll probably play it, but do we need to go through them all again? Neo 2, Sekiro, Rise of the Ronin. I know I'm missing one.
Well, Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima,
Ghost of
which we
Tsushima.
talked about. So
There was a Like a Dragon one, Like a Dragon Ishin.
okay,
I mean, there was a list I saw on a site that was kind of going through them. Some of them are definitely older though, like they had like Onimusha and stuff in there.
I love Onimusha.
But yeah,
Classic.
I mean, throw Shogun the TV series in there, I guess, and it does feel like, even though this game had been announced previously, or at least teased, I guess, it does feel like Ubisoft is releasing this at a time where it's like, okay, maybe we're tired of this stuff. I don't know, but I mean, that being said, I'm kind of, I have not played through an entire Assassin's Creed game. And I usually don't, if I do play them, I usually don't play them, as they're released. I play them years later. But this one, I'm like, you know what? I probably will pick this up and check it out. And I was a big fan of Ghost of Tsushima. So if it's kind of in that vein, I'll be game for it. But I guess the one question is, like, I think Ghost of Tsushima, a lot of people, the complaints were towards the end game and like sort of looking towards completion and platinuming the game. There was a lot of kind of mindless quests, and people were like, it felt like a Ubisoft game. So,
well, specifically a Ubisoft game from like 2006.
Yeah.
They've gotten better since then, and this was antiquated by even their standards. So, I mean, Ghost of Tsushima just launched on PC as well last week, so I think it's finding a new audience. So definitely not great timing from Ubisoft here, but I'm a sucker for these games. If it's good, I'll play it. I just know these modern RPG Assassin's Creed games, they like are very grindy and long. And I don't know if I'm really in the mood to grind in one of these unless the combat is exceptional, which I have not been pulled in by their combat systems in the last 3. So
Yeah, I mean,
probably out.
I'm still trying to work my way through Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and that was 3 or 4 games ago. So I'm way behind. I still got the Egypt one and Valhalla, and then this one. So I don't think I'll be picking this one up unless it's incredible and they've changed a lot of stuff, but I imagine they would not.
I'm still inclined to go back to Mirage just for a shorter, more classic Assassin's Creed experience, but we'll see how much time I have for that. They did release one screenshot. I was looking up, is there any gameplay footage of this at all? And I think yesterday there was a screenshot kind of in stealth mode that looked a lot like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I have to say. And like the environment looked pretty decent. I would expect that from an Assassin's Creed game. Ubi has really great tech, as we saw in Avatar and some other recent games. So I don't know, not a ton to say, unless it's like got some other hook we're not aware of yet. Like, I feel like this game needs a hook. There's so many of these games. It's just amalgamating other ideas. I need a hook gameplay wise. Like, I need a gameplay mechanic that's interesting and compelling.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the two character thing, again, maybe when it was announced seemed kind of unique, but there's been a lot of games doing that. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 comes to mind. But hey,
every game does it. That is the new AAA thing. Multiple.
Yeah, and I guess the idea of it being open world, and I assume, I don't know for sure, but like, yes, story wise, you'll be able to switch between the two characters. I assume once you kind of get to open world stuff, you will be able to pick and choose who you want to use for certain missions or something like that. I hope that's the case.
Last thing I'll say, it's a bunch of the games we talked about, Sekiro and Neo, which are my favorites out of the ones we talked about. have the benefit of having like fantasy elements. So, I mean, the coolest thing about those games is the bosses. They are huge. Their scale, they're very like well modeled, interesting, scary. Like they have tons of stuff going on in their bosses. Even Rise of the Ronin, it's in a pseudo realistic setting, and the bosses are way less interesting. It's always just a sword fight of some sort without a lot of interesting boss mechanics. Ghost of Tsushima, I think, had cool, like their own sword fighting system that was exclusive to some bosses, if I remember correctly. That was a little different than the traditional open world combat. So it had some spectacle moments embedded that made up for a lack of large scale bosses. But I'm curious to know what this game is going to do, because that's kind of where Rise of the Ronin loses me. It gets really repetitive without, epic moments to break up some of the other like open world gameplay and combat. So I hope they have some interesting ideas to how to incorporate that stuff. Otherwise, I might officially be done with non-fantasy injected feudal Japan games.
Yeah, I guess one other thing to mention, there was a little bit of a backlash I saw on because one of the characters, the samurai, was a black samurai, which, kind of an interesting and different choice. And I guess he is based on a historical figure. So, a lot of people were like, oh, this guy can't be a true samurai or something. Well, sorry, he is. But I'm curious to see what that brings to the table, if anything.
I watched a video about just historical stuff. It was like a 4-minute, because I wanted more based on that trailer. And they said everything was kind of based on real historical characters, some of which, like the main elements of feudal Japan, have worked their way into all the other games we mentioned. So, I mean, it's an interesting take. I don't think it would change anything about the nature of the game or gameplay. Maybe story, which how can you really judge that based on this trailer? So
yeah,
could be interesting.
I just want to say, looking at the Ubisoft post on YouTube, it says the gameplay reveal is June 2024. So mark your calendars for a Game Junk episode, June 2024.
Well,
we'll have some real news.
I assume it's part of Summer Game Fest or Ubisoft Forward or whatever they have
possibly.
this year.
Yeah.
It is sneaking up on us. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be flooded with a new announcement. Switch 2. Hope. It's going to be great.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why it's been quiet the last month or two. But just one other comment, I guess, in general, like I've seen some kind of just general impressions that like, oh, it seems like Ubisoft maybe isn't having a great year, or like, because what was the pirate game?
Skull and Bones?
Yeah, that kind of came and went. Nobody was talking about it. They did just also announce that they canceled something. I think, there was a Division game that they just canceled. So I don't know, but
I was kind of surprised by it. I thought that franchise was somewhat popular, but it might have been the offshoot Division. There was kind of a weird Division that wasn't like Division 1, Division 2. I think I remember having like a different kind of color palette going on. Do you know which one I'm talking about? I think that's the one that got canceled, but I'm not sure.
It might have been a mobile game. I don't totally remember, but I think it might have been. But yeah, I mean, I hear that, but then I keep coming back to, well, Prince of Persia, man. Like, like amazing game, and still nobody's really playing it seems like. But
yeah, still probably my game of the year. And they've got Star Wars Outlaws in August, which I assume, depending on where Helldivers goes, I think is going to sell the most copies of any game this year.
Yeah, unless something else crazy gets announced at Summer Game Fest.
So I think Ubi's doing okay in recent memory, I would say. So, all right, we'll see what happens in June. Let's get into what we played. The new release this week was Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, created by the same developers as Sayonara Wild Hearts. which was more of a rhythm, totally different game based on like music, rhythm, casual kind of game. This is a puzzle game with a bit of a survival horror vibe. I've only played about an hour. Sean, this is your kind of game. How much time have you spent with it, and what do you think so far?
I've spent about the same amount of time, maybe a little bit more, but like, yeah, like so you mentioned Sayonara Wild Heart, which was cool. I liked that game, but they did have a couple of interesting mobile games, which maybe I think we talked about briefly last week. There was Device 6. There's another one called Year Walk, I think, and they were kind of these interesting puzzle games at the time. And I definitely think this game has some of the same vibe as Device 6. But yeah, first thing I noticed, you kind of already touched on it, but like heavy Resident Evil vibes, which I didn't really expect, like based on what I saw in the trailers and stuff. You know, it has like an eeriness to it. I don't really know if it's a horror game as of yet. It doesn't quite feel like one, but yeah, you've got the kind of fixed camera. You're exploring like a mansion or a some kind of large building, and picking up items as you go, and then solving puzzles. And I had seen that it was kind of supposed to be more of like an open world type puzzle game where it's like if you get stuck on one puzzle, you just go and work on another one, which that is there, but kind of in the first hour or so of what I've played, I've only encountered a handful of puzzles. Like I haven't really, it's not like The Witness where it's like you turn a corner and there's a new puzzle there. It's not quite to that level, but I'm enjoying it. It's just a little bit slower paced maybe than I expected.
Yeah, I'm with you. When the game started, first 10 or 15 minutes, I thought it was excellent. I was like, I'm going to love this game. I can tell already. And then over the next half an hour, I felt I was just gathering information. That's it. I didn't solve anything. I'm just wandering around the house and interacting with things and getting things to solve in my book. I can't solve anything. I'm not getting a sense of reward as I do this, like pushing me to go further. I literally went a half an hour without accomplishing anything, which I found to be a little bit frustrating. So hopefully next time I pick it up and play it, like I've got enough information that I can do a bunch of things in a row. Even some of the first things you encounter are those shredded poster puzzles. And I did those, but I don't know what I'm doing them for. So even that felt like not the most significant thing. And it's just weird because in that first 15 minutes, it's like moment after moment of simple puzzles where you're accomplishing something, moving forward, and it had a very nice loop. And then the loop just completely shifted to explore. So it almost turned into a different game for me. Maybe it's just a weird timing of that first hour, but I definitely struggled with it. Love the vibe, love the look. Sean, I know we're on the same page here. When you save in that computer, the sound of that disc saving is the best. That is so good. So did you play it at all?
Sorry, me?
Huck, did you play it at all? Yeah.
No, I haven't. No.
So I just want to make sure before we keep going, but yeah, like attention to detail. It's got like this context sensitive system where whatever button you push, like it's really just pushing one button. If you're not near anything, you go to your menu, whatever you interact with it with that button. And I do at times wish there was like a cancel button to get out of locks and puzzles rather than having to attempt to open it. And part of it, like it's giving me mild friction, which I don't like.
Yeah, it feels like it's an interesting UI choice that it's basically one button. Like any button does the same thing, but yeah, like you want to be able to quickly cancel out of stuff. And when you go into a menu and you're like 3 layers deep, you got to go back, and then hit the X button. It's kind of weird.
And in the menu, just going down to something I want to use all the time, I have to navigate to it up and down. It is a little bit frustrating, not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because that's not the point of the game. Part of me thinks if they made this choice, there has to be some kind of meta element or a puzzle, like it's got to be important. I can't understand why a developer would make that choice to not have a cancel button, because I can't remember what it is, but there are certain things you can cancel out of where the B or back button does something. So something's up with that. If it has a good payoff, I'll go along for the ride. But as of right now, it's making the game more frustrating to play for me.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like thinking about mobile or even like just mouse and keyboard, like and kind of controllers were an afterthought or something. But I don't know.
I also had the mobile thought because of Sayonara and other games they've made, but even then, there's equivalents of doing that. Or you just give an option, like just have B do whatever those other things do. Maybe it's not fair for speed running or something like that. This doesn't appear to be like a speed running type of game to me. But
yeah, not really. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I do like the vibe, the visuals. You know, if you haven't seen the trailers or anything, it's mostly black and white with splashes of red. Seems to be the color palette. I don't know if that changes at any point, but yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see how. Like, I never played that Signalis game, but
Yeah,
like it seems like there is a bit of that kind of Resident Evil, Silent Hill revival thing going on. So
yeah, as soon as I was just kind of watching a video while you guys were talking, and that's the first game that popped into my head, especially with like the kind of like retro aesthetic of the computers and just a little bit of like grain constantly in it. Now, Signalis is definitely more like PS1 graphics style on purpose, whereas I don't really get that vibe from this, but just kind of like the small rooms, confined spaces, set camera angles, even like how the character moves a little stiff. I kind of got all those vibes. Now, obviously, I haven't seen any of the like horror aspects that is like in Signalis, but yeah, I really like Signalis, so I'm interested in this. One thing I did notice, only on Switch and PC, which is an odd choice, I think. Kind of surprising, to be honest. Because if it runs on Switch, it's going to run on the other consoles. So I don't know if Nintendo gave them some payola to keep them off those other ones, or this is a strategic move. But a little surprising because, yeah, I don't know. The eShops.
They used to do it more. They used to do it a lot more. But the recent ones that did it, I know Dave the Diver was Switch only first, and a couple other relatively big games did it as well. But it used to be a really common thing, I think, from a install base of Nintendo, and maybe even double dipping, sell to people on Nintendo, and then if they want to,
yeah,
like,
I mean,
never really go on sale, or they go on sale. I think sales are a lesser part of Nintendo stuff. So when you go
keeps
on
the value.
Xbox, you just people are going to wait for it to go on sale anyway. So when it's fresh,
yeah, I don't know. The eShop is so flooded that unless you have some sort of deal set up to get really good placement on the eShop store, I don't know why you would do that, to be honest, and not release on all of them, or try to. Maybe it's a development thing. Maybe they just didn't have the money to do all the platform ports and, ran to cert issues or something. I don't know. So there could be other reasons, but
it is true. But also the PlayStation Store,
there's
some garbage on there, but it's hard to find new releases.
Yeah.
They have they're always putting big name titles to the front, and it's tough to find like smaller budget new games on PlayStation. Xbox, I haven't interacted with their ecosystem in probably 4 years. So
I think the launching on the Switch thing, at least a few years back, was the Switch used to be the indie place to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people were like, oh, this Frank's least favorite thing. This would play great on the Switch. The best way to play this is on the Switch. That was a thing for a while, but then I think Game Pass and PlayStation Plus kind of changed all that. I read an interview and they did specifically say, like, we consciously chose Switch as our launch platform, but they didn't really say why, from what I remember. Maybe it was that because it's a puzzle game, like, I think the idea of like a quote unquote cozy game, I don't know if I would say that this is that, but I think those kind of games definitely do better on the Switch. There's just more of an audience for that. So
I
I don't
can't
know.
articulate it, but I get mild Nintendo vibes. I
Yeah,
can't really say why. Just something about the aesthetic and some Nintendo games, like less popular ones that I don't really play. It kind of gives that kind of. I wish I could say specifically what game. Even it reminds me a bit of, not this is exclusive to Nintendo. I think it launched on GameCube, but visually Killer 7, I think I
Yeah,
get vibes of, and
totally.
I don't know. It's
What was that other one? There was that other one, Mad World. That was
yeah,
Wii.
yeah, I
yeah.
think that was the
It
Wii.
started on. I think it was exclusive to
Yeah,
the. Yeah.
I think so. Going way back for that one.
I mean, that's just color palette. Certainly not gameplay, but I do
Sure.
like the
Yes.
vibe of the game a lot. I wish that first hour would have hooked me more. The same way, Case of the Golden Idol, I did not stop playing that game until I had to, or I was done with it. So this game
Yeah.
did not sink its hooks into me the same way other puzzle games have.
Yeah, it's just the exploration element of like finding the things you need to find and actually getting to the puzzles feels a bit clunky, I think, because it's that old school. I mean, it's not tank controls, but it feels a bit awkward. I don't know how else to describe it.
Are the puzzles that you guys run into, are they also like contained in one room, or are they like, in room A you find clue for something in room C and you have to know you got to walk over there? Oh, that's unfortunate.
You don't even know where you have to walk. It could be anywhere in the house. You're just
okay. That's a little unfortunate. I don't really like those kind of
gathering
puzzle games.
information. And I have a feeling I've seen some screenshots. There's some more meta elements to the puzzles, almost like
Sure.
The Witness, I think. Don't quote me on that, but you kind of scale back based on camera perspectives and solve puzzles in a different way. But yeah, I want to love this game. We'll see if when I get back to it, if it finally does it for me.
Yeah.
Did you play on Steam Deck at all? I don't. I played on a monitor. I don't know how well it would play on Steam Deck visual, like with details.
Yeah, I played it on Steam Deck. It seemed fine. I mean, there might have been some text that maybe was a little small, but nothing stood out to me as being a problem.
Okay. Huck, anything for you?
I've been playing. I played more Animal Well. I'm up to 17 eggs, and I actually don't know if I've gotten any of the flames, to be honest, yet. The flames are not the like tools, right? They're something else.
Correct.
No,
Okay.
I think so. When we last talked, so I finished the main story. I certainly didn't 100% the game. When we last talked, I hadn't got any either. And then the next time I played, I literally opened up the map and they're marked on the map. So I don't know how I didn't see that before, but
Yeah, I know. I've seen them on the map. Yeah.
Didn't make it necessarily easy to get them. They're just general corners of the map. The quadrants.
yeah, but at least it gives you something to work towards. That was one thing I kind of felt was lacking a little bit, is I was like, I don't really know where I'm going. I'm just exploring, but that helped a little bit.
Yeah. So I think, are there like 8 tools you can get or so? Or are there more than 8?
I would say, I don't know what the total is because there were still a couple empty slots when I finished the game, but I think there's four main ones you kind of need to have before you can get any of the flames. I don't know for sure.
Each quadrant has its own tool associated with it. I think technically that's the only tool you need to get that flame.
Okay.
I think if you have other ones, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
Which is why I compared it to Breath of the Wild, where you need certain, or more even, why can't I think of the recent Zelda?
Tears of the Kingdom?
Tears of the Kingdom, where each section you get like some power that you need to solve that dungeon. But if you have other ones, it makes it easier. It kind of works like that, I think. Now there's more.
I've definitely been finding that.
So I platinumed that today. I did not 100% it. There's like some super secret things that I'm not going to do. But I did get all the eggs with help. I would not have got
How
them
many
all.
eggs are there?
64.
64. Okay. I'm at 17, so still a long way to go.
And a few other things you have to get in the end game, which was a lot of fun. Some more clever puzzles and ways to get secrets, but I really enjoyed the game. Definitely, I don't think it would be in my top 3 for games of the year so far. Love the aesthetic, but did get a little frustrated navigating the world after the fact, like when the whole map's open and I have to go back and I still can't see clear paths, and I go into a room and it's like those clear blocks that I can't get to the next section. If the map just told me and made paths more clear to me, I think I would like it a lot more. It's just too obscure.
Yeah. I was telling you guys, go ahead, Sean.
Well, you were mentioning about the fast travel, and there is a fast travel option that you get partway. I got it partway through the game. Maybe you can get it early, but
I think you can get it after eight eggs.
Yeah.
Is it 8 eggs? 16? 8. I think it's 8.
But there's also a fast travel element on top of that, which I did not discover.
I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah, like all the fast travel elements are not quite as convenient as like it's not like you go to one point and it takes you to all the points. There's one central place you got to go to travel out from, which is, it's not the worst,
and even the out points are not always that convenient either.
No,
a couple are locations you have to revisit, but for the most part, it's kind of in the center, but the nature of the map, it still doesn't help you all that much. But I do really like the game.
The other thing I found is when I was exploring, I think I talked last week how I found that it was kind of gating me early, and you guys were kind of like, oh, I don't know about that. And I totally agree. I was wrong. And you can go to a lot of places. And I did find when I would explore some areas, they would have like a branching path. And I'm like, okay, I'll go down this route a little bit and then just come back and explore this other way. And I would like fall down some pit or something and be so far away that there is no way I want to ever go back down that path again. So like just stuff like that is super frustrating. And like, how would I know which way was the right way? So yeah, I was getting a little frustrated. The fast travel, same. I like you get launched up into some really obscure spots where your only option is to basically jump down from these places, and then you cannot return to the fast travel hub. So unless you like creep out slowly and make sure this is actually where you want to go, and then retreat back, it's your only way to sort of like maintain close to the hub. So I still am enjoying it. I haven't read many reviews, but it seems like there's a lot of hype around this game that I don't really understand at this point in time. And I like it. I think it's well constructed, especially with like how like the secondary effects of some of the tools you get, or whatever you want to call them, abilities. And I think they work well. And I think the design of those is really good. But there are definitely some puzzles where I could tell I need like a tool I haven't gotten yet. And those sections are kind of frustrating. I think I need to learn to use my map markers more and figure out how to mark these things as like I need.
Yeah.
Like I know I don't have the slinky thing yet, which is important for at least 2 or 3 things I've run across so far. And I should really mark those on my map because I've returned to them like 2 or 3 times already thinking I could do them, and I can't still. So
yeah, I didn't use the map markers at all, but
of Metacritic stuff, I was last I checked, it was the #1 Metacritic game of the year.
I thought it was like 90s.
Yeah, it was like 91, I believe. When I checked, it was still behind. What was #1 again?
Prince of Persia?
No, I can't remember. There was something that was ahead of it, but maybe Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Oh,
maybe that seems like a stretch to me.
It was pretty high, I think.
Yeah, but it's very good, and glad to have it out of the way, platinumed, and moving on to other games. I'll just mention, played some Helldivers quite a bit this weekend, still going strong, and played with a listener and member of the Discord, Dustin. And what a joy that was. Dustin and his friend Caleb helped me get every difficult achievement. They play on the highest difficulty. They except for two that I kind of have to do myself. It was so much fun playing with people who are good at this game and getting super samples, rare samples. It was incredible. And I learned so much by playing with them, like little things I didn't even know about the game. Oh God, it was a revelation. So thank you, Dustin. Almost there. 2 trophies away from platinuming that one.
Nice.
So
I'm still loving it.
after our conversation there, I looked at Metacritic. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes sitting at 87.
Yeah, it's really high. It's not as high as Animal Well, but
Yeah, that's number 10. And number 1 currently is Rebirth still with 92.
Okay. That's high.
I hear the game is long, and that might be. Once I'm done these games, Stellar Blade, finishing that one off next, then Rise of the Ronin, then back to Rebirth. That's my summer game. Okay, Sean, anything for you?
Yeah, I played a bunch of things here and there. I guess I'll mention Braid Anniversary Edition, which is out now, and it is out on mobile if you have a Netflix account. Yeah. So I had just finished Braid for the first time like a year or two ago. So I wasn't really that eager to go through the whole game again, but I was just curious. I had seen that there was like a whole bunch of new levels, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll check this out and see what that is. I haven't, as far as I've seen, it's still the same game. Like the visuals are updated a little bit, and it does look nice, but the game hasn't changed. But I think what it is, so there's a developer commentary in the game, which you can turn on. And apparently for some of the levels, they will kind of explain to you the evolution of like that puzzle, and you can go back and play prototypes. So kind of like, what was that? Like that Llamasoft game and the making of Karateka, like those games that have been put out recently that are kind of almost like these interactive museum type things. It's a little bit like that, but I think that's what the new levels are. I don't think there actually are brand new levels. I could be wrong. I'm going to keep playing a little bit just to see if anything else pops out at me. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's a classic sort of early indie game from the early days of Xbox Arcade and or Xbox Live Arcade. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Like the puzzles with the time rewind thing. There's been lots of games since that have done that, but there's still some pretty clever puzzles with that mechanic. So if you haven't played it, check it out.
Yeah,
it never beat Braid. Might have to get to this one.
Wow. Also, Jonathan Blow has been doing like developer diary interviews with this other guy, Casey Moratori, who is another big like rendering game engine guy. He helped on The Witness, and I think they've put out 2 so far. They're about like an hour and a half long, each of them. They've been pretty interesting. It's been talking about sort of like going through like how Braid, the initial like concept, came about and the evolution of it. So it's been pretty interesting so far. I don't know how many of these kind of like developer blogs or whatever podcasts they're planning on doing, but I've been enjoying listening to those. I'm kind of interested in picking this up because I haven't played Braid in so long, probably since it originally came out. And I know that this was one of the I actually beat this game before it was ever released because it was on back in the day. You would have your Xbox developer account, and on your Xbox, your kit that for Xbox was a 360, I guess, when we were developing To Human and stuff. You would get access to other developers' games that they put up for testing. And Braid was one of those games that was up there. And I remember playing through the whole thing probably a year before it came out. It was up there for a long time. And there was a bunch of other games up there I tried like that. There was just like a little cool perk of having this developer access. So I haven't played it since probably a year before it came out. I don't know if I played it when it actually came out or not.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy that they did that. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
to think that they would just give access to other people's games while they're in development. I mean,
with no sort of like feedback mechanism. Like I can understand if like you could play and then you'd have to like give feedback on the game or something. Like there was some sort of outlet for the developer to receive feedback from other developers. I think that would be cool. That'd make a lot of sense. But there was nothing. Like I had no way to like contact Jonathan Blow to be like, hey, this level sucks for this reason or whatever, or whatever.
I mean, I guess, yeah, these were all like indie games and they were nobody knew what they were. It's not like there was some secret, like,
no one did know.
Game
No one
in
knew
a franchise that people were looking forward to.
No one knew who Jonathan Blow was at the time, or at least I didn't.
I remember playing Zuma a lot on there.
I played a lot of Zuma.
I don't know if I played anything else, but that was good.
Yeah, Zuma, classic.
Next up, I'll talk about a little puzzle game. It was free on PlayStation Plus, and there was a PlayStation Stars reward associated with it. Mystic Pillars. Anyone heard of this game?
No,
I haven't heard of it.
Mystic Pillars Remastered. And I don't know much about the original game, but it's just a puzzle game it's basically like a weighted graph with nodes and numbers of moves, and you move tokens to different pillars. You have to get the right numbers. So you have like a bunch of tokens on pillars, and it gives you a configuration you need to end up on with a limited number of moves. And it was okay. The first half I was having fun with. It starts to get pretty complex going forward and kind of veers, for me personally, into trial and error, which I did not find to be that much fun. And I eventually kind of used a guide and got a platinum. So whatever.
Oh, no.
I wanted it gone out of my life. So one of these platinums is a little suspect, but I mean, I could have gotten them myself. It wasn't like it's not like a typical puzzle game where like, oh, that's the trick to this one. It's just like trial and error. And I didn't feel like spending time trial and erroring it. It's the same thing over and over again. And if you're going to try to get the platinum, you can't skip anything and you have to leave it in its default language for voice acting. So just do a little, if you're going to platinum it, do a little research. It's an easy platinum, but make sure you do not hit that square button.
There's like a trophy for not changing the language.
Correct.
Oh my gosh.
What the heck?
So what happens if you do change the language? You cannot get it, or you have to revert back and then start a new save.
I think so. I don't know exactly, but just a word of warning. I think like there is
what a horrible trophy.
Well, there is, I don't know much about the original game. There's some cultural significance to the story, and I think they want people to kind of get immersed in that idea or learn about it, but I don't know. I don't know how big of a part that was of the original. I know nothing about the original game and how this remastered one is any different. I just played it because it was on PlayStation Stars. So whatever.
Just wanted a plat. That's all he wanted.
And a meaningless, worthless PlayStation Stars reward.
Oh, wasn't even for coins? It was for like one of those stupid little avatar things.
You got it.
Oh no.
I don't remember which one it was, to be honest, but I actually kind of liked the puzzling. I just got tired of it after a while. For the half of the game, I was like, this is fun. Like a different, the nonogram or Sudoku type thing. Mm-hmm. It's not like one of those. It's similar to that in nature of just different puzzles being thrown at you. I just didn't love the puzzle mechanic as much as I like nonograms.
Fair enough. Last thing I played, I'm still playing Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, the Suikoden-like game. And I'm a little further now. I've got, I think, 7 characters in my party. So one dude has been shipped off to the bench riding the pine. And yeah, I'm not looking back. I don't know if he's gaining levels with me or not. Never even looked at it. So the game is a little slow in that the first kind of like major quest you get is basically go out and find people to join your team. And then you just have to search around the map. And there's probably 3 towns and two dungeony things you can go to. And if you miss a cutscene where one of the people joins your team and go to these dungeons, you can basically walk through the whole dungeon, and then at the end there's nothing. So I went through a whole dungeon thinking, okay, there's got to be a guy at the end or something. Get to the end, nothing, just ends at like a dead end. Luckily, I had an item that let me teleport back to the start. And then when I returned to the town, I must have missed one of the paths or whatever through the town. And when I went through that path, it triggered a scene that got me a character that said, oh, you need to go to this dungeon. There's some, bandits there or whatever. And then all this stuff triggered. So just like an oversight like that was a little frustrating, because why not have a backup plan where if you go to this place first, maybe that character's already there or something.
Or at least lock you out of it.
Yeah, or lock you out of it. Exactly. They did that in another area where you go to it and they're like, oh, there's a rock slide or something. You can't get by here. And then later on, you can get through there. So it's not like they hadn't thought of that. And so yeah, I'm not a big fan of these quests that are just like, go explore. Now, it's not a huge area, so it's manageable. But having no markers at all, having no idea where people are, they could be inside houses, they could be down alleys, a little frustrating. And I don't even know what the magic number of people I had to recruit in order to meet the requirements for this, because I recruited one person, went back, wasn't enough. And then I recruited, 4 other people, and that wasn't enough. So it's some number between like 1 and 4. And I still like the battle mechanics. I think they're pretty fun in like a more mindless thing. They have the auto battle. So if I'm facing enemies I know I can beat, I could just turn on auto and kind of watch it go. I don't have to sit there mashing the button. And they have the ability to adjust how your characters react in each situation. So do you want to like prioritize physical attacks or magic attacks? You can kind of tune their AI so that when you hit auto, it knows what to do. And you can set up stuff like if people's health are less than 50%, do healing or something like that. So I'm going to keep playing it at least a little bit longer. I'm kind of going off into another area now, see what happens. I have not unlocked the town. Is like your home base town that is always big in these games. You have to build it up and kind of recruit people to fill the shops and upgrade the town. I'm already collecting materials that are going to be built for the town upgrading. They have like a fishing mechanic that's super basic. You basically like throw in the pole and it sits there. You press no buttons, and then you wait for a little like exclamation point to go above your head, and then you hit A, and then you catch it. That's it. There's no other mechanic in it. I guess there's like a little nibbling on the line, and if you hit A too soon, then you don't get the fish. So it's a very, very simple fishing mechanic. And yeah, I don't know how many guys are going to, I know there's 100 guys, but I don't know how many I'm going to be able to find. I think about it right now. I know there's already one that I did not go back and talk to that I might be able to recruit now. And I don't know. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stick with it, to be honest. We'll really have to see how the mechanics unfold. But knowing the previous like Suikoden games, this is pretty much it. It's more about finding the people than any sort of growth in the characters. Now there are these like rune slots I can unlock and give me more magic powers and stuff, which gives a little more flexibility to each character. But overall, so far, not really like. I'm still playing it, so obviously there's some sort of hooks in me, but I wouldn't say I'm loving it just yet. So still not a strong recommendation for me, but for some reason I'm still playing it.
This is your kind of game though, so
it is my kind of game. Yeah. And I miss this mindless aspect of RPGs. Like Final Fantasy Rebirth is fun, but I can't just throw it on and grind levels mindlessly. Whereas like a game like this, I could throw it on and basically just like wiggle the stick outside of a town and and like gain levels, gain money. Like if I need money to buy equipment, it's a lot harder to do that in more modern RPGs than these type of games. I can basically sit outside of a town, get a bunch of battles, gain a bunch of money, go to the inn whenever I need to. And, there's sort of like that built-in time versus money mechanic where if you want to put in the time, you can get the money, and you're just wasting your time if that's what you choose. So I do like that aspect of it. And I do like the fact that I don't have to get a ton of different crafting crap, at least not yet. Each character has their own weapons that you just upgrade at a blacksmith, and then the armor you buy at a store. And there's different armor that works for certain people, but it's very more traditional JRPG in that respect, which I like. I don't like having to craft everything, so this is working great for me so far in that regard.
Nice.
Sean, is it me or you next? It's you.
Think it's me. I'll just give one other quick little recommendation. So this was a game that I tried the demo for, and then I was like, okay, sold, I'll buy it. And then I bought it and I haven't played it since. It's called Cryptmaster. Just came out like a week or two ago. And yeah, it was like one of those games that I was just like seeing the screenshots, reading the description. I was like, okay, this is the Dwy guy senses are starting to tingle on this one.
Oh yeah, I've not heard of this game. It looks like pretty cool.
Black and white kind of first person game. You're exploring this dungeon, but there's like a word element to it, and I don't totally understand it yet. Like there's 4 characters that you have with you, I guess, in your party.
So
And
just say characters as in like human party characters, not characters in a word.
right.
The word has 5 characters. It's like looks like there's a bit of a Wordle element.
Yeah. So the way it works is that they're in combat, and I've only fought a couple of creatures so far. You actually type your attacks. So like, if one of your attacks is like, I think one is called boot. So you can like kick the enemy. So you have to type BOOT, and then there's like a cooldown on it. And so then the more attacks you find, the more you can do at once. But they kind of give you like words. They'll give you a couple letters, and then as you're exploring the dungeon, you open these chests and it reveals more letters and starts to fill things in. So you can just start guessing what those words might be. And if you type the right thing, then it's like, okay, you've unlocked this ability for this character. And I mean, that's about as far as I got, but I was like, okay, this is weird and interesting. I don't know. It maybe gets completely boring and repetitive. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to go back to it at some point.
So it's like if Mavis Beacon got stuck in Tales from the Crypt and
yeah, maybe
was trying to get
something
out
like that. Yeah.
Looks pretty cool.
Is it right?
What's that?
It's not multiplayer, right? It's
not
controlling
from what I saw. Yeah.
You have 4 characters in your party, right?
Yeah. And it's definitely like I played this on my PC. I did not try it on Steam Deck. I imagine it would not work on Steam Deck very well because you have to type everything. Although I guess you could plug a keyboard into that. But yeah,
I don't think this one's going to make it to consoles.
Probably not.
Looks pretty cool. Lastly, for me, probably the game I should have led with. It was probably my favorite out of anything I played all weekend. I finally got back to Tales of Kenzera Zao, and I started over and just kept plugging away, chipping away, and really enjoyed my time with the game. It really does suck that Prince of Persia came out before this because they're so similar, and one just has so much more budget and it's so much bigger that I think this would have been the perfect lead into that game. And I know we talked about it before. I think it's got slightly different mechanics in its own right, but it has a lot of similar type of platforming, and there's just way more variety in Prince of Persia. when you start exploring the levels, the typical jumping and dashing, it's reusing a lot of those things over and over again to kind of bridge gaps between areas. So the general platforming gets slightly repetitive, but I still found it fun and responsive. A few, areas with spikes that were a little frustrating, but for the most part, I love the environment art. I can't believe how much environment art they did for this game and how good it looks, especially some of the backgrounds, the color palette. I looked at the credits. I beat it. I platinumed it. I really enjoyed like my 10 hours or 12 hours with the game. It actually reminded me a lot of Embers of Miram. It's like 4 sections basically, with the last one being extremely short. And like some of the mechanics of like the R2 dash is identical. A lot of like just similar ideas and structure that like I could recognize as a smaller budget game, how you make a full game and kind of reuse some ideas that I thought they did a really good job with. Had some chases and bosses and kind of what we were going for with Embers of Miram, like in terms of pace, although there's more puzzle stuff in Embers of Miram, there's not as much puzzling in this game. The combat is the difference. This game has a lot of combat, and halfway through the game, I was starting to get a little burnt out on it. But once my skill tree leveled up, I was able to, go through enemies a bit quicker. It was becoming a bit of a grind with enemies, but towards the end, those issues were resolved. So I really enjoyed the game. I thought pretty good, very good platforming, good combat, cool bosses, colorful art. I was continuously blown away by like some of the environment assets. There's like these kind of bridges that are curved that I walked. I'm like, this looks so good. So environment art team needs a lot of praise on this game, I would say. I'd say the part that needs the most work is animation, but that's not that that's pretty typical for smaller indie games. Animation's tough to spend a lot of time and money on. So, and I don't care about it all that much, to be honest. So I really like this game. So it's on PlayStation Plus. Also, EA Originals, not getting enough love. I got to go through and play every EA Originals game because I loved Immortals of Avium, what I played.
Which just came to Game Pass, actually.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, just this past week. Maybe just on PC.
Oh, yeah, on EA, but it's EA Access. I think it's fully open on that. So, and then was It Takes Two EA Originals or just A Way Out? I think just A Way Out.
They might have both been. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I got to play Unravel 1 and 2.
Yeah, I haven't even played those. I didn't love Lost in Random. And what was the first one? It was like this very
Faye?
short word.
Or something like that.
Yeah. So I actually kind of want to go back and play some more of those because they're really good. And EA gets a lot of shit all the time, and I don't think anyone gives them enough credit for putting really good games on EA Originals. So
there was also that Sea of Solitude game, which I never played, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, every time I play one, I'm very pleasantly surprised, and it makes me want to go back to the ones I missed.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm in Act 2, I guess, of Tales of Kenzera, but I keep wanting to go back to it because, after Lorelei was a little slower than I had hoped, I was like, kind of feeling that itch to go back to that. So I might do that.
Pretty long.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was going to be way shorter than 10 or 12 hours. To do everything, it took some time. I was pretty impressed.
Cool.
Good game. That's it for me.
Yeah, nothing else for me either.
I'm good.
All right. Is there a major release this week?
Hellblade 2.
Oh, right.
So
Any
definitely
reviews?
checking that out.
I don't know when the embargo is for that. I mean, if this game is bad,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Gangrene is in big trouble. This is
well. Hey, listen, the big rumor right now is that this year's Call of Duty is going to be on Game Pass, and it's going to fix everything for Microsoft. So
I don't think that's going to fix anything, to be honest. But am I the only one that thinks that might cost them money? Like that feels like the one game that people would just buy no matter what.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's the question right now. Like, why else are they taking so long to get some of these things on Game Pass? You know.
Embargo for Hellblade 2 is on launch day. So not a good sign, in my opinion. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
But this is the biggest Microsoft title of the year, right? I feel like there might be one other major one.
Well, Indiana Jones, I guess.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one, too. All right. I kind of want to try it. Will I dip back into Game Pass? We'll see. It's possible. Might have to. I might need to release this thing.
You're going to run out of PlayStation games at the pace you're going. Come on. You're going to have to dip back in.
Oh, I got to go back to Dragon's Dogma, Rise of the Ronin. There's just too many games. But I did some solid gaming this weekend. Another Crab's Treasure I got to get back into. Mm-hmm. But I was pretty proud of my gaming this weekend. One of my more productive gaming. And my house and my gaming life has never been better. Everything else is in complete shambles.
Just thought I'd mention the Paper Mario 1000 Year Door also comes out this week.
Yes, I might get that.
I might get it as well. We'll see.
All right. So you can watch us at youtube.com/GameJunk. Give us a subscribe, a like, comment, and you can find Andrew on X at MindGrewCommute and Equilibrium Sys and Sean at Film Junk. Thanks for watching or listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.